How's everybody doing today? Good. First of all, I want to thank Go-Kart for this opportunity because you are family. You go back to, I think, even before we called it Studio E. And I especially want to thank you for putting us on after Steph because I feel like we're about to spend an hour going right on.
Right on.
Like she said.
Now, this is a client summit, right? We are a client of Go-Kart, but yet we weren't invited to this summit.
All right.
Talk about that later.
Okay, should we?
Okay, we'll start.
We'll start with this. Now, oh, hang on. Tom, while you do this, where's our speaker? Oh, here's the speaker. Okay.
Feel free, by the way, to stop with any questions, concerns, or comments you guys have.
Or if you want to just look indifferent, that's fine.
So I've never
too.
used Keynote before.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Here.
Okay. You ready?
I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Yep. I'm ready.
Okay. So before we start, you guys have been sitting for a while. So you can stay sitting if you want, but I would invite you to stand up. Let's move around. Let's move your arms a little bit. Let's shake it out. Okay? Even if you remain sitting, which is fine, it's gonna stretch out, move around. Okay? Okay? Okay.
All right. We got some energy out there. All right.
Okay. Have a seat.
We'll bring it down. Okay.
So,
we just made it safe for you.
you know, it all really began with a walk. About 8 years ago, I was on vacation with Nate. I've known Nate since 7th grade.
And we act like it.
We were in Colorado, and we decided to go for a walk. And Nate and I had never worked together at that time, but we were on vacation together, basically screwing around. So we told our wives, we're going for like a 20-minute walk. We'll be back in a little bit. So we took a walk in the mountains. And on this walk, we just started asking questions like friends do when you're on vacation. But one of the things that we stumbled upon is all the cool leaders we knew and our buddies, and some of them were intersecting, but some of them were different because we had different areas, were intensely unhappy, super stressed, and kind of turning into dicks. Okay?
And mind you, these are the folks who are winning. On paper, they were winning, and they were like this, right?
And I'm like, what? Like, Terry, you're such a dick. I mean, like, so anyway.
She used to be so nice.
Okay, so we're like, what's happening? Like, what's going on? Now, this was in 2010, so it's 2 years after kind of the world imploded and it was being reconstructed. And it's the time, I don't know if you guys remember this, when people were working twice as hard and getting half the results of the olden days,
The good old days.
And
right?
so what we came to realize is that these guys were all encountering kind of a similar thing.
Yep.
They had unknowingly fallen in love with their operating model, their old ways of success. Now, they all said they loved their clients, but they actually loved their machines much better. Right. They'd all fallen in love with their products and the services that they knew how to deliver and that had worked up until 2008.
So they just worked their model harder. They thought the issue was efficiency.
And harder. Right.
But it wasn't working.
It wasn't. So, I know it sounds biblical, but we continued to walk, and we actually lost track of time. Have you ever been like involved in something, and you kind of get in that flow state, and you don't really know what's going on, and time passes, and you don't even realize it? So 5 hours passed on this walk, okay?
And our wives did not care.
We actually, when we did came back, we're so sorry. They go, what? We didn't even know we're gone. But, so we got into this deep flow state, and I know this sounds biblical. We came off the mountain with a quest, and we've been living that quest. In fact, that walk actually led us here today. We have been on that walk since that
Ever
day.
since, right?
June 10th, right?
June 10th, 2010.
So that led us here to today. So we want to share with you what that quest was that we want to address, that we're still working on, and what we've learned over those 8 years.
And also, in honor of Steph, too, it is all about action. Because it's a hell of a lot easier to act your way into a new way of thinking than thinking your way into a new way of acting. It is about taking action. And so much of what she said is so true because we've experienced it. So as on this walk, we were talking about all these friends trying to work their model harder, right? They thought their issue was efficiency. Actually, the issue was relevance. the world wasn't just changing massively. I'm a history geek. That's happened before. What's never happened before is the world is changing constantly, and it's accelerating. And we hate that as humans. Our biology reacts to change like death. Our amygdala fires up, and we hate it. What is happening in this world? Well, the military has a name for it. It's called VUCA.
You guys familiar with VUCA?
VUCA came from the Rand Corporation. It is about volatility. It is about uncertainty. It is about complexity and ambiguity.
What a great cocktail.
It is such a good cocktail, but that is the world that we live in. It is a world of all sorts of change. Everything is topsy-turvy, and I have no idea what this guy's going to tweet tonight.
It's the grand poobah of VUCA.
The grand poobah of VUCA. There you go. Right? So we asked ourselves, who does really well with what shows up? Because what was happening is that our friends had reached the limit of what they could predict. That managerial thinking of predicting a future state, of amassing resources for it, putting a plan together, executing, and measuring and repeating. It wasn't that that was bad, it was incomplete. What could we do about who does really well with what shows up? And we thought, well, explorers and entrepreneurs.
That's Ernest Shackleton, by the way.
Ernest Shackleton, epic story of taking 28 other guys off the polar ice cap as his ship got crushed and sank. And there was no Uber, there were no Starbucks, not even without drive-thrus, and they made it home, okay? But also entrepreneurs are the people who create ideas into reality without instruction book. And that's actually what we're talking about. How do you launch ideas? How do you have that practice of going into the unknown and coming back safely? So.
Well, you didn't talk about Babson very much.
Okay, so Babson, I'll go back to Babson.
So at this time, we went in search of trying to solve how can we help our loved ones with ambiguity? How can we help them navigate VUCA, right? So we globbed on to explorers, but we also went to Babson.
Yes. I had a prior relationship with Babson. They were reckless enough to allow me to be a fellow, and now they're even more reckless because Tom's a fellow too. And Babson, for the last 40 years, has led the world in entrepreneurial education. They teach the entrepreneurial professors around the planet entrepreneurship. And what they found, actually, which is really interesting in their decades of research, is that what links one successful entrepreneur to another is not about education, it's not about culture, it's not about IQ, it's practices. They have similar ways of looking at what's in front of them and how to act into it. That's what links them. They are dually literate.
And so what we mean by dual literacy is we mean they have the ability to actually navigate the known, this world of prediction that we're all good at.
Right?
It's kind of a managerial world, and the world of the unknown. The reason this is so hard is because it's a duality. It requires different mindsets. It requires different practices. It requires different ways of being. And it's not like, well, over here I'm going to innovate, and over here I'm going to execute. It's all mixed together.
Got to
right?
play it like jazz.
Yeah. So you have to be dually literate. Some leaders are, and they're amazing at it. Some aren't. I represent some artists that they live over here, okay? They never ship anything. They're always creating shit. It's never delivered, ever. Okay? I work with people that only stay here. And what happens with them is their world gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and their relevance starts to disappear. You need to be both. One is not better than the other. You need to be both.
That's an important note there, by the way. We live in a world that is so often defined by good and bad and right and wrong. What we're talking about is the word incomplete. You are all awesome folks, and you're also incomplete. And incomplete is not a judgment. It's an invitation of what more is ahead. So Studio E was created to explore more possibility in front of you as individuals, in front of you as organizations. That's what it's about.
What we want to share with you today is how to be over here. The vast majority of you probably have this pretty wired, okay? So we're going to talk about the unknown. And in order to actually navigate the unknown, we have a type of leadership for that, and it's called exploratory leadership. So an exploratory leadership is an and. Think of your life as an awesome ice cream cone. Exploratory leadership is the sprinkles on top, okay? It's a small thing, but it's a huge thing to add, okay? It is not the answer. It's just an amazing additional
It's a way to
ingredient.
further complete your journeys, right?
Right? So what it is, all right, is the ability to motivate yourself, okay, and others to go into the unknown, to discover more possibility and come back, okay? So some people go into the unknown and blow up. Target Canada is a good example of that.
They hit the wrong target with amazing accuracy.
So talk about not going small, right? Let's open hundreds of stores simultaneously in a foreign-speaking land that we've never done with a different distribution network, okay? That's not a good recipe usually, right? So starting small probably would have helped them a little better. The other thing that it's important is you don't want to actually do this. So people can talk about this, but you actually don't like being in the unknown. It is not safe, right? So a way to make it safe, as the good doctor has told you, and I love when I hear that actually people who do research actually verify what we say. It's
Because
so
we
awesome.
are aggressively unaccredited. You should know that,
So, I mean, it's just exciting, you know?
okay? Yeah, I know.
All right, so
We're practitioners. We actually, but it's really beautiful when we hear voices like Steph's. She laid a lot of brilliant pearls of wisdom on you.
Yeah.
And as I said, as we were listening, we were going like, yep, yep, yep. It was really tingly because it was fun to have that
So
confirmation.
the money shot here is it allows you to discover more possibility. And if you can discover more possibility, you can actually create the future you desire instead of reacting to it.
Yep.
And that is a powerful place to be.
Think about that. To the extent that you can create the future in front of you, you don't have to predict it. All that prediction, all that scary stuff, is this going to be right? You can actually walk into it. You can walk into it safely.
And we've
if you
seen
do
this-
these kinds of things.
And we've seen this over and over again. So this isn't like us kind of having this theory. This is actually observing people kicking ass and doing stuff.
The Studio E family is about 1,000 people right now. We've worked with just about every organizational sector out there, from business, from retailers and service businesses and construction, healthcare, lots of healthcare.
FBI.
The FBI in Washington, we did actually get to go to the FBI and leave the same day. That was good.
Has anyone ever been to the FBI?
Super crazy.
So the first thing that happens when you go to the FBI is super not, there's no hospitality. So you go there and you walk in and they take all your shit. Everything.
Like
your
everything you were
phone, your
gonna present,
computer,
what they take
your
it.
briefcase, everything. You can go in. I go, well, my stuff's in, no, you can't have it.
Oh, and everyone's armed. That's a good thing too.
And then you go, so it's one room and there's dudes with machine guns pointing, and then you go into another room and then dudes with machine guns, and then when you finally get to the building, there's 2 glass tubes that are like this thick, so only 2 people could ever get in the building simultaneously.
So
at
as
once.
Steph said, you have to feel safe. You have to feel safe. All right. So
Anyway,
how
okay,
are these exploratory leaders acting, Tom?
Okay, so
We digress.
the way to be when you're in the unknown. Now remember, we're talking about the unknown. We're not talking about the known where you're kicking ass, where you know what to do in the world of prediction. Super important. You're probably not in business. In fact, you're not good in that. In fact, you wouldn't be. But if you actually want to have these sprinkles, if you want to have this awesome ability to explore and even feel safe, you need to adopt a certain mindset at a certain time. So when you're in the unknown, you cannot have a knowing mindset or you will actually freak out. Okay? You have to have a curious explorer's mindset. You need to be open. You need to be okay not being an expert. You need to be okay being vulnerable. Right? That is a different way of being. And you need to be able to shift to that. The second thing is you need to be connected to your desire. So we saw that slide earlier from the good doctor about purpose. Well, what we believe is if you're connected to your desire, which is your purpose, that'll give you a lot of energy. That'll give you a lot of motivation. That'll give you a lot of resilience, okay? And then finally, you need to focus. Okay, so this is one I had to actually learn. I lived a very unfocused life for a long time, had a lot of energy, and I did a lot of stuff really badly.
Oh, we're all focused out there. We're usually focused on this thing.
Yep.
It's not the right focus. We're distributing our focus. But focus brought together into one focal point can be incredibly powerful.
So what we'll do is we're going to throw you some exercises and give you 3 examples of awesome souls that have just crushed these competencies.
And
okay?
the reason why you want to do this, folks, I don't know if you can see this slide very well, but let me ask this question. When was the last time you went to a Blockbuster? There's one left. It's in Oregon. Everyone who goes there is super high. And no, it is So there's one Blockbuster. When was the last time that any of you actually flipped on Netflix? Hands? Netflix watchers out there? Plenty, right? What is the difference between those two companies? Well, there's lots, but in particular, apropos of today, Blockbuster got super, super good at its business model. They got really efficient at the I rent you a DVD or VCR tape and then I charge the hell out of you if you're late. That was their business model. Whereas Netflix got addicted to curiosity and got addicted to what their customers actually needed as opposed to what they knew how to do. They started off with, why do I have to charge you a late fee? How about if I give you a DVD, send it back when you're done? Everyone went, yippee. Then they said, hey, there's technology now. Why do I even have to send you something? How about if I stream you content? And the customer went, yippee. Then they asked the question, why other people's content? How about if I start producing you content? Netflix has been on a constant quest of curiosity of how to serve the needs of a person who is living in a changing world, where Blockbuster got locked in to what they knew how to do, and they did it really well until no one needed it anymore.
So this line, this wavy line, is what we'd hope you could adopt through becoming an exploratory leader, which is you're gonna have some ups and downs, okay? You're gonna get your butt kicked, but you gotta keep learning and you gotta keep exploring. And if you can get the slope of that line going up, okay? You're not gonna follow this line that all organisms and businesses, which are just a collection of organisms, tend to follow.
Because
you can stay relevant.
You can't learn from a place of comfort, right?
You can't.
You can't, but with practice, you actually can create comfort. It creates that familiarity, right? That practice doesn't make perfect, it makes comfortable. You just get more and more practiced at this. So one of the first steps,
in terms of like feeling safe and actually getting access to a lot of knowledge.
right, you gotta actually be part of a diverse learning community. So if this hypothetically is all the knowledge in the universe,
You should say that more boldly.
all the knowledge in the universe.
Okay.
And for all of you theoretical physics geeks, I mean multiverses too, okay? If that is all of the knowledge out there, that's a very generous line. That's what you know, right? And that's what you know you don't know. Those are two knowns, right? Like, I know I don't do brain surgery. That's good information for you guys, by the way. So if you're ever on a table and I have a scalpel, run, right? But most of our world is we don't even know what we don't know. Again, I don't know what my president's going to tweet tonight. I don't know what's going to happen, right? But if you're in a diverse learning community, because if you really want to learn and grow, you have to hang out with people who know different things than you. And as we get older and older, and as we get more and more successful, we tend to gravitate, because of safety, towards people who think and act like us. That is the death knell of curiosity. And when you're in a learning community, you're surrounded by people who know a lot of different things than you do. You actually just expand the wisdom. If anything that we're doing at the studio, I would say that personally inspires me, because there's a lot of family members in the crowd today, is that it's this amazing, soulful, generous, generative crowd that knows so many different things. There's so much brilliance.
The key is diversity, though. Because for a lot of my life, I've hung out with people that are exactly like me. And that's pretty fun. It's not actually a good way to learn, right? It just reinforces your own bad behavior. But if you can actually hang out with people that know stuff you don't know, it's got to be diverse. It's really powerful.
And I'm going to run through the next slide super, super fast so we can get you into action. But it isn't just this learning community, it's actually getting into this practice. This practice, and the reason why we wanted to do this, again, we just threw this in again, because of what Steph was talking about, is that these folks know how to work with a specific mindset of curiosity, and they are tied to their desire. They know how to articulate their desire. It's in words. And apropos of what you were talking about earlier, they know how to take big ideas and they know how to chunk it into small steps. Those small steps are all about creating clarity. In fact, folks, I would tell you this, the antidote to uncertainty is not to create certainty, it's to create clarity. Clarity is what safety is all about.
So let me give a little more context. This tool is just an action compass. So when she was trying to get you to actually convert kind of outcomes into real action, real behaviors, that's what this tool is. It's just an action. It's a way to come up with really specific
4 different actions, right? Starting with what you already have, not waiting for what you need, designing ideas to what people actually need, not what you already know how to do, constantly putting yourself into a place of risk, but never recklessness. There's a difference. And how do you bring people behind your idea because they want to? And all of that gets turned into declarations of what you're going to do, and importantly, it's about taking action. All about taking action. But you may say,
okay, so when we actually share this with a lot of people, what is the first thought that comes to your mind of why you can't do it?
No time.
I'm too busy.
I'm busy. Are you busy, Tom?
I'm so busy.
It's like the new I'm successful. Hi, how are you? I'm so busy.
I'm so busy working on my life, I can't work on my life.
Yeah, I'm so busy. But we actually have a rough formula.
So what we've done is we've been running labs now for about 5 years in big companies. And we've kind of come up with an equation on time, on how you should use this sprinkle of exploratory leadership,
Right.
okay? So this is what we've seen to work successfully for people that are kicking ass. 70% is about execution. If you can't execute, you're not that valuable, okay? Period. Execution trumps ideas, innovation. Execution is king, okay? Then 20% should be about improving like the machine that you work on, doing best practices, innovating against that machine, okay? So we're sitting there at 90%, right? But there's the 10%. And 10% is explore beyond what you know. That's where exploratory leadership comes in. So if we're gonna give this like a time frame, it's about 10% of your time. Now we've worked with people that run Fortune 50 organizations, and the ones that are really successful always make time to learn. And I've worked with small organizations where people have no time to do anything, and they're always just reacting. And if you're in that boat, your actually world's gonna get smaller.
I want to hop on that word learning though, because oftentimes when we go off and we go to conferences and we, like industry conferences, that's more like training. What we're talking about is to really go out there into the unknown and trust yourself. Just be open, observe, percolate on it. You'll harvest good stuff out of it. But if you go out there with the intention of learning, you're probably going to pick up on things that are already familiar to you. So I mean, like, go travel and pass up the Hard Rock Cafe, right? Don't stay at the Four Seasons. Stay at the Riad in the middle of the Medina. Get foreign, right? You can't learn from a place of comfort. Have fun with it.
The other thing is this doesn't have to be all.
Oh, sorry. Going back.
What are you doing?
Back.
Okay.
Go ahead.
It's like a time machine. The other thing that you don't have to do this all at once. Like, it doesn't have to be, I need to explore for 4 straight hours. Okay? Take 10 minutes. Look at something. You can do this in the cracks. This doesn't have to be a cumulative, huge burden. But I will tell you, people who do this are more successful than people that don't.
When Tom and I go to the airport, when we have to travel for work, we'll go to the bookstore and we'll give each other a letter. And it's like, go find a magazine that starts with K. And I'll find him like Kitties and Guns or something like that. It's like,
He's good at that.
Today's Modern Baker. It's like, I wouldn't read that, right?
It's always a gun thing, too. It's just horrible. Okay.
Tom, I was just going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I've been part of an organization where we've done think tanks and really focused on like that 20% improving and innovating machine. For those that you've seen that do this successfully, are they doing it by themselves, or are they pulling together and having some structure around it, prioritizing and going after it? Any strategies?
So both. So
Yeah.
the organization we're talking about, in particular, we've been doing this for years. They get groups of 80 people together, and they work on this 10% time together. And it's a structured 2 to 3 hour meeting a month, okay? And then they go on little expeditions. These little, we call them little.
Experiment.
They're little experiments, little MVPs. It's flossing that one tooth to get people flossing, but they're tiny. Like, they're tiny commitments. And they meet and they say, what did you learn? Or how did you get killed? So what we used to do is we used to launch people, and then we would map how all their ideas would get killed. Because, again, the reason the machine kills ideas is because of its design, not because of the people in the machine.
Yeah, it's not a bad person problem.
And you can redesign some of that if you're aware of it. The problem is when people who have the power to do it usually optically can't see how things are getting killed. So I would say that you can do it individually and should do it individually. But some organizations have done it collectively where they have a regular meeting time, and then they form groups. How we've done it is it's a group of 80, and then you cut that group down into 8 groups, so they're groups of 10, and these 10 go out on these little missions over and over again. But you can do it individually.
Yep. And again, we would suggest you do both. So why are we talking about this with you? Because we were really thrilled with this invitation. And it's because just like our friends that we were talking about in the mountains, you're all leaders. I don't mean like that's a title. You're out there making stuff happen. There are people, there are communities that are counting on you. And this is an important time for you guys to step up to the plate to start creating the future because of this. The world is getting awesome. And yet we've never told ourselves a worse story. 200 years ago, nearly every nation on earth was poor and people died young.
Give them some context. This is life expectancy and this is cash.
Right.
People
Now, I'm
are
not
living
talking about a
longer
perfect
with more cash.
with more cash and healthier. The fact is, and when I say fact, this is coming from like the UN. You have a better chance of living to a long life without a violent end to your life in good health on more places on the planet than ever before. And it's accelerating. And yet we've never told ourselves a worse story, right? Because we have a world of angertainment out there. But the world is actually, not perfect. It's bad and it's getting better. There's plenty of places that need improvement, but the world is changing rapidly and we're freaking out because we know what we're dislocating from, but we haven't started bringing clarity into what we're moving into. And what we're moving into is very exciting. So Tom.
And shocking news always beats out gradual good news every day of the week.
Yeah, I mean, here, I'm Nate Garvis. I'm reporting from Ithaca, New York, where the forest is not on fire. It doesn't happen, right? It does not happen.
So real quickly, here are 16 bad things that are decreasing, okay? We have legal slavery, down, huge, right?
193 countries 200 years ago, there are 3 now.
Oil spills, there was 6 last year, okay? There used to be as many as 636. Expense on solar panels is down to 6 cents. Okay, HIV infections, down. Children dying, this is awesome. It used to be a 44% death rate. It's down to 4%.
Before 5 years old.
Okay? Battle deaths, this is great. Way down. But you see Aleppo on TV every night. And it's not that Aleppo isn't bad. It's like, but it's the only place.
It's rare.
It's rare
right?
now. It used to be everywhere on the planet.
Those are bad things that are getting better.
Okay?
Right?
But it goes on and on and on. I mean, give them some of the good stuff.
There's
getting
some
better.
good things that are getting better, though, too. New music. No, the reason why new music is important is that means that more humans have free time. We wouldn't have more music if we didn't have recreational time. Scholarly articles in science. Everybody thinking that science is under attack right now. It's not that it isn't, but it is burgeoning right now. Do you know that 88% of the world's population has access to daily clean water? You wouldn't believe that if you just paid attention to the news. And there's 12% out there that needs to be brought into that, right? The things like monitored species, electricity coverage. Girls, do you know that 90% of the girls on this planet are being educated at the very same pace as the boys? But again, that's not our narrative. It's not our mindset. And that's why it's so important for you guys to be out there creating the good stuff. Because the world is getting better, and it's not that it's perfect, but there's a difference between something that's bad and getting worse and something that's bad and getting better. You put a different strategy to it. And getting things better, there's no instruction book for that, right? You have to explore your way into do that. You have to create it. But it's happening right now, and it needs beautiful leadership.
We got to speed up. Hans Rosling actually wrote this book. He's a scientist, unfortunately he died. I would strongly recommend his TED Talk.
Fabulous.
And again, all this stuff is researched. We did not come up with it.
So let's talk about mindset. We talked about mindset.
So there's this cat, Marcus Aurelius. You guys know who he was? He's one of the last of the great 5 Roman emperors. He lived a long time ago, but he was super smart.
He wrote a good book, Meditations.
He wrote that book to himself with just his notes. Someone stole it, now it's a book. And then Obstacle is the Way was kind of taken from that book with Ryan Holiday. But here's the deal. He has this simple equation, okay? So you guys have a handout. right? And what we want you to do, okay, in that handout, is there's a box. This is number 1, mindset, okay? So, is there an equation on here that's going to come up?
Oh,
Okay, here's
you
the
take
formula, okay? Events happen in your life. You cannot control them. What you can control is the stories you tell about those events, and that will change the outcome. So it's E plus S equals a O, right? You control the stories you tell yourself in your life. Now, so mindset can be described in a lot of ways. We describe it as the stories you decided to tell yourself. So what we would love for you to do is think of a story that you've told yourself in the past, something that is not motivating you. So for example, when I was in kindergarten, I know this is going back a way, I get off the bus, and I remember I was wearing plaid pants and a white kind of shirt, kind of looked like a dickie kind of thing, you know. I was pretty studly. I went in, and the first thing we had to do was pick name tags, right? I'm like, shit, I don't know how to read. This is very awkward, okay? And I remember just seeing this table of name tags, just endless, okay? There must have been 20 kids. So I said, guys, grab one, put it on, and everyone starts kind of giggling at me that can read, because it says Laura Kissling.
That will screw you up.
So, for years, I thought I was stupid, right? For years. But what it did is it actually drove me to be a good student. It drove me to make sure I would learn and know what I needed to do whenever I came into a situation. So it actually had a positive effect. I have changed that story to now say, that is the underlying motivation that made me a lifelong learner, that event. Instead of being humiliated and crushed by it, right? It actually empowered me. So we want you to think of an event like that. You don't have to go that far back, okay? But think of an event that you've kind of told yourself in the past and reframe it and tell a different story. And I want you to write that story in a little box.
Yeah, and we're only going to give you a couple of minutes. And the reason why is that if we give you more time than that, you will overthink it.
Just write, think of something that when you think of makes you feel bad and rewrite it and make it feel good. And I'm not talking about bullshitting it, like just reframe it. 2 minutes. Yeah, fortunately. It's really obvious too, like when you got to pick out your name, right?
All righty.
What brave soul would love to stand up? And
Excellent.
well, wow, that was that was an aggressive. Here, wait a minute. The doctor said we should reward you. There we go. All right. That's scientifically proven. Okay. Come up here.
Yeah, what? Say it loud. Say it proud.
It's right here. Say your name and then tell us. You can tell us the before if you want, or just tell us the after.
My name is Amanda Huey. I work at Principal. And my story is, we said think of something really embarrassing. And once I think it was junior high, so I didn't go quite as far back, but close. I over-practiced before a contest, my saxophone. I practice. And when I got in there in front of the judges, I could not make a sound with the saxophone. My mouth was So my story that I decided to tell about that instead is that I learned how to stand in front of a judge and blow hot air.
Ah, there you go. And now you can use that. Nice shot. Same fact, situation, different story.
She's here all week, folks. Try the veal.
All right,
Okay.
so Tom talked about how powerful mindset is, because it will dictate every thought and action in front of you, right? So if you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket, you turn to a kid and go, good luck. What kind of gift is that, as opposed to, this is a deeply imperfect and improving world, right? And we're having a good time making it better, and soon it's your turn. What kind of story is that, right? Well, the next thing is what Tom talked about with desire and purpose. And again, to echo what Steph was saying, is that it is your ever-ready battery pack if you know what your purpose is. In fact, Viktor Frankl wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, we really love this too, and I'm going to paraphrase, but at the end of the day, what every one of us wants more than anything in our lives is that we all want to be missed when we're not here. And it's not because of your LinkedIn page, as impressive as it is, right? Your legacy, which by the way, you don't write, others write it for you, is the statement of why people missed you, why they thought it was great that you danced on planet Earth for a while, right? So we want to give you a couple of moments here, a couple of minutes to write out your purpose statement. And I'm sure that most of you are freaking out at this moment, but I can just tell you that Tom and I get in front of junior high kids every year, and when we ask them that, they come up with it like this.
60 seconds.
Yep. For every 10 years of your life, you should probably add a half hour to the exercise till you become ancient like me. And then it's kind of like, can I get you an executive summary next week, right? It's really, actually, again, it's one of those things that if you think about what really matters to you, both professionally and personally, and get it into a sentence, that clarity is so powerful. And everyone at the studio has a sentence. And if you need a little cheat, those of you who are old enough to remember Mad Libs, we created one for you. My name, that would be you, live to, verb, action, in order to impact other people. Why do you exist? Where's your energy come from? Tom, what's your sentence?
To live a truthful life and help others do the same.
And mine is to build civic health. We know that. I can tell you hundreds of people's sentences. Take a moment or two. Write down a sentence that resonates with you. And better is perfect at the studio, by the way. All right, Tom.
What awesome soul would love to share their sentence?
Yes, sir.
Hey, share mine.
Come on up.
I'm Chris Pegg. I'm Director of Business Analysis at Go-Kart Labs.
I've heard of them.
And it's not one, but two stickies.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I used to think my kind of
Oh,
purpose
this is good. Okay.
It was self-imposed on me. So very early on in my career, I would have said something like, Chris Pegg lived to fix my family members' goddamn computers.
That definitely sounds LinkedIn.
Thankfully, I have benefited from a very early on, I've activated a sense of purpose in my own career. So now my purpose statement is to help those around me understand the information that surrounds them. I can take
Wow.
it's sometimes I fix a computer, yes, that's part of it. But generally speaking, I love information science. I really love the provision of access and the democracy of the way information systems have spread out across the world. I love to help people connect with that in meaningful ways to them. I don't seek people out. I acknowledge who's already in my life, and I focus on that.
That's beautiful. Nice
Fantastic.
job. Nice job. That's gorgeous. Okay. Now you might be saying to yourself, hey, but I'm just one individual. And I run an organization, or I'm part of a big organization. How could that apply? So let me tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about a beautiful friend of ours, Bob Gardner, who came to this town 6 years ago, a commercial construction guy, right? Mature, saturated industry. And when we met him, he had revenues of, what, $600,000?
Which is not good for the commercial building industry.
No, actually, that's like equivalent of nothing. This year, Bob is going to do $185 million in 6 years. And we strongly believe, and he would acknowledge this as well, that if you ask, how did that happen? When you're in front of the Opuses and the Ryans of the world, how did that happen? It's because they found a unique purpose. If you ask Bob Gardner, let alone anyone who's swinging a hammer in his business, what business are you really in? They're going to say, we're actually a hospitality company that happens to be in the construction sector. And they have actions that prove it. We're satisfied customers of theirs. Any of you have been dealing with contractors, you know they're super, super efficient at demo.
And then you never frickin' seen them again.
Right? These guys have all sorts of practices. They put idea into action. Everything from sending you photos every day of the project, cleaning up every day. They treat you like they would treat a hotel guest. And it's word of mouth that has differentiated this company into explosive growth. And it's because they articulated a really cool purpose.
And they don't even call their subcontractors subcontractors.
Right.
They call them their partners. And they will not allow you to call them subcontractors.
Right. So for extra credit, there's a notes section on your worksheet there. Think about, well, first of all, how many of you come from an outfit with a purpose statement?
Or a mission statement.
Mission statement, same thing. How many of you can actually remember it?
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
that's not bad, right?
90%, 80%.
Putting your mission statement into action is how you can go from the science of what you do, which everybody else is doing, someone else is doing that, right? To the art of what you do. Because what you do, someone else is doing it. How people feel when they experience what you do, that's where the art lies. And art is the differentiator. So take a couple of moments.
Put the question up.
Did I even have the question? Yes. What is your firm's mission statement? And
Stancer
what
right
actions,
here in the notes section.
What actions are
Can
you taking
you
or
take?
could you take to put that mission statement into play? Make it reality.
Come up with 2 or 3.
Will you move when the voice inside you calls and all the walls fall down? No need to do this alone. Will you move when the voice
supposed to be done in
inside
7
you
minutes?
calls?
Anyone want to share real quickly? I'm running out of shirts, but it could be someone who's extra large.
Is there a large person out there with an action? Yes, ma'am.
So I took one of our core values,
Good.
fearless exploration.
Yes.
I think mine was I like to entertain and support others. So in the area of fearless exploration, I think I like to impart perspective and understanding from other parts because I've lived all over the world. So that's kind of where I feel like I'm aligning with our mission.
Good. And what kind of actions are you going to take?
So I think the entertaining of the, I think delivering information and delivering perspective to clients in a way that is entertaining and
Beautiful.
makes them enthusiastic.
That's it. That's it. That's artful. That's beautiful. They'll feel it. They'll feel it and reward you for it. Okay. So the last thing we talked about was focus. Let's talk about our friend, Rhoda Olson.
So Rhoda's a studio person. She's now the chairman of Great Clips. She basically was the third person that worked there. So you guys heard of Great Clips, right? They cut hair. So, all right. So
Satisfied customer.
Rhoda is Rhoda's a great example of focus. So Rhoda took over the company, and when she took over the company, I think they were doing 45 million. When she just kind of retired 2 years ago, they were 1.4 billion. This company is massive and it's huge, and it's had growth every quarter for the last 14 years. Okay? Now, she runs her company with this. I've been in a leadership group with her for 20 years, okay? And it's basically a one-page document. This is how focused she is. And everyone that works there knows this. Every stylist knows this document. And every person on her leadership team knows this. So when you have thousands of people pulling the oar the exact same way and in the exact same direction,
You are
it
a
is
battleship.
insanely powerful, right? And it's a simple little document that says, this is our mission, this is how we actually execute, and this is what we're measuring everyone against. It's also a great document, now she didn't say this, I am, for firing people. Now the reason that is if people aren't living up to this, you go, you're just not making it, right? And if they continue not to make it, it's fair. No one has ever been surprised,
Yes.
ever, not making it there.
And she has a lot of pride in that whenever someone had to be departed from Great Clips, they were never surprised.
Which is a very humane thing to do, I think.
And it's all because of clarity and focus.
So
It's
the
so
last
clear.
little thing is we're over. We probably won't
Yeah.
have you do this because we're over if you guys want to ask some questions. The last thing is we have a thing called a priority coach. Okay, so can you, there. So it's on your paper, okay? It's this little thing right here, okay? So this was developed, I don't know, 1990, I developed this. I've been doing this every month since 1990. I had a guy named Jack. He'd come in, he was really old. In fact, how old do you think Jack is?
85, something like
85,
that.
87.
Yeah.
He told me 2 months ago he's retiring from doing this, but he used to come in every month and say, what are your top 3? That's all he'd say. And then I would fill this thing out, and then a lot of the discussion, it'd be an hour-and-a-half meeting, would be why I didn't do my top 3 from the month before. Okay? But he would only let me have 3 priorities. Now, that could be personal or professional or all of the above, whatever. Because his point was that this isn't a to-do list. This is a priority list. This is a list that you actually should do and would have profound impact on your life. And usually the stuff on this list is all the stuff you're avoiding. Because it's hard, right?
And not easy. If it was easy, it'd already be done.
So you'll note on the example, there's an example underneath it. But you write your desire statement right here across the top, okay? So you write your desire statement this way, right here. Why do you think you do that? Why do you think you would write your purpose or your desire across the top right there?
Make sure your priorities are aligned with your
Bingo.
Exactly.
100%.
You might want to trade this in for a different size. Okay.
Get in touch with us. You're petite.
Yes. Okay. So, it's exactly right. And basically what you do is, and at first some of you will be good at this, but a lot of you won't because you'll confuse priorities with to-dos. We all have massive to-do lists, but most of the stuff on that list actually isn't that important. We just think it is, okay? So, there's an example underneath, but you write down what your top priority is. Then you write what would be the best result if I achieved that, okay? What are the obstacles against me achieving this? What are the actions I need to take against those obstacles? And then we have triggers at the end.
Trigger.
Because we save the easiest for the last. We do it a little differently. But they're very important. So again, what's going to remind you to work on this? And then they're designed so they can just stick on your computer screen. Okay? They're just little stickies. So I do these every 30 days. If you're ever in a crisis, you can do these over 3 hours. The time frame is up here. You can make it whatever you want. But if you do this as a regular practice, you will be shocked. I'm telling you, shocked at how much progress you make on the important things in your life. That line that we showed you that was going up, that's how that line occurred for me. It's this little simple thing. And it's a simple practice. But I've been doing it for 25 years, whatever. And I'm super ADD and hyper. If I didn't have this, I'd be doing a lot of stuff like really poorly.
Trust me, I've known him since 7th grade. Okay? So let's review real briefly.
Yep.
Where are you actively participating in a diverse learning community? If you have an answer for that, put it in number 4.
Yeah.
In your
Where are
worksheet
you?
there.
Where are you doing that?
Yep. And if you're not, find a place.
Think of where could you?
It will explode possibility in front of you if you hang out with people who know different things than you.
And these are questions as you enter the unknown. When you face something and you don't know what to do, these are the questions you should revisit, okay? As you go out there and you're going to tackle some new project or something that is unfamiliar, these are the questions that you should focus on as you start that exploration,
Okay?
all right?
How about that? How about if we take some questions if you have any? No questions.
Damn, I had one more reward. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead.
So when you talk about an ongoing diverse learning community,
Yes.
what sort of examples would you suggest we look into?
There's tons of them. First of all, you can make your own up. Get a bunch of people that come together on a regular cadence. But there's Vistage as a group, that's CEOs. But there's business-to-business groups, Studio Wiese, an ongoing learning community. There's tons of them. Pollen. There's tons of them. If you go look for them, you will find one. And again, they only work as if you are an active participant and you go and you connect. But it's a good way to get your 10% in too. You know, that 10% is being involved in a community of people that are not like you. So like, let's say you're a Nordic skier and you join a Nordic skiing group. That is not what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's a great question though. And we really would.
Does anyone else know of any great learning communities? Can anyone else answer that question?
Well,
Yeah,
we are.
besides Studio, is there other places. Where are you guys connected to interesting, cool, sexy, amazing people?
Yeah. I mean, I know of like the Vine that's out west. I've been at Vine conferences.
Or, yeah, Alumni
Hatch.
Network.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's lots of them, if you
TED.
look.
You know, go to a local TED Talk. You're going to find cool people. But
Or start one.
Yeah, or start one. But be in a regular cadence of doing it. It's not a, Steph was talking about this too. It's not a one and done thing. This is about actually embracing a new practice in your life. And it can be a really fun practice. I can tell you that with a lot of confidence. We've seen it happen thousands of times. People that lean into the ambiguity of the unknown with this discipline tend to create magnificent obituaries.
And I'll leave you with this. I will leave you with this offer. If you actually adopt this practice for 6 months and you don't see amazing results, Don will buy you lunch. Okay?
Yes. The other thing too is we did mention Factfulness. We think it's one of the most important books we've read in a long time, and actually on the cover, Bill Gates says so too. It really is. It's not only amazing because of what it shows in terms of reality, where it gets really interesting, and it shows 10 human instincts as to why we can be so blind to what's right in front of us. It's an amazing read. So if you're interested in the book, get in touch with us through Go-Kart or whatnot, but we'd love to give you a copy of this. It's that important.
A free coffee, and we won't bug you. We'll just give you a free coffee.
Yeah, a free copy of this, and it's a book not just worth learning, it's a book worth creating out of. We're in an amazing time right now. A lot of people are frightened by it, but we cannot allow ourselves to be part of that. We have to be full of energy and creation. There's a whole world counting on us out there, and your creators. I want to thank again our family at Go-Kart. You guys are magnificent. We love you to death.
Don, Mark, Ellie, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so many of you in this room. And thanks for the time to spend with all of you today, and good luck. Go out there and explore.
Sweet.
All right?